Good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. We discuss local and national Native news and events. And as you know, Haley, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
You're absolutely right, Dega. This portion of the show is supported by NACD's Four Sisters Farmers Market, which happens every Thursday on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis from 1 to 3.
Hey, we got a big show today, as usual, but we got a jam-packed here. We have Lori Jump on, CEO of StrongHearts, and we haven't talked to that great organization in a while, so it'll be really exciting. And we're going to lead off here with Hennepin County mental health person. She's the awareness campaign manager. And I just want to, before we introduce her, I just want to say today's secret word is racketeering. So racketeering is the secret word. Just kidding. We don't have secret words here. Hey, Jocelyn, welcome to Native Roots Radio.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, tell us a little bit about what's going on here in Hennepin County and with the mental health awareness campaign. We all talk about this a lot in Indian country, and we know it affects generations. So we really appreciate you being on and talking a little bit about what you guys are doing.
Absolutely, and thank you for having me. The Hennepin County Mental Health Awareness Campaign is a year-long initiative really to spread awareness around mental health and the importance of conversations and connections. So people, places, things within our lives, maybe reminders of things that matter that can help keep us feeling connected. So it's a result of, as many know, there were many impacts to COVID-19 and how we saw a quadrupling of anxiety and depression occurring across different populations. We saw suicide become the second leading cause of death among young adults. And so the importance of this initiative really is to bring some light, some hope, resources and connections to the communities of Hennepin County.
Yeah, that's what we're doing here. And it's like a real worldwide situation, too. And I know my generation, being 62 years old, we don't talk about our feelings and things like that. We weren't taught about that. And it's really put me in a bad situation in my life until I learned how to be able to do that. And I think that's a thing in Indian country. We're really stoic, and I know a lot of the BIPOC families out there are really have their generational trauma too to deal with.
Absolutely, there's a lot to unpack for many communities who faced racial trauma, historical trauma, impacts that my generation of being third or fourth generations within even the Black community, things are passed down, right? And sometimes things aren't passed down in ways that are allowing expression of feelings or needing to hold restraint as a protective factor. And so I definitely agree. There's a lot, especially within communities that have been harmed in different ways, and how we heal may be different.
Right. So with the Hennepin County mental health campaign, you're reaching out to communities, and then what's the next steps after you reach out and find somebody that really needs help?
Yeah, it's a variety of different angles that we're taking with this campaign. So we have our traditional multimedia, where we might be on a billboard, on a bus, in that type of way, on digital, Snapchat, Facebook, you name it. And then
Native
we're also
Radio.
out in community. So we've been at a few events particular to the Native American community, supporting Little Earth, and a Canoe of Nations event that supported middle schoolers at the Demakska. So like there's just a variety of different ways that even just like being present where celebration and connection are happening also add value to the message. We're really not creating any particular agenda as far as what people do next with the information or the resources we share. Our focus is not to promote any particular solution to how people move forward with their mental health. And that's the beauty really of this campaign, right? To open up that wellness. It can look different for you. It can look different for me. It can look different for different communities that embrace and understand mental health very differently.
Is there a website that we can send our listeners and watchers to that we could let our vast, large audience of radio listeners reach out to? Do we have a call to action?
Yeah, please check out our website. So it's www.cseementalhealth.org. It is an array right now. We just relaunched the website, and there you'll find, 30 to 15 second spots where people of Hennepin County are sharing nuggets of wisdom and connections of hope as far as what's gotten them through their mental health journey. So I'll share that website. Also has a link to a variety of different resources across all ages. So it's a great website to check out and something to just pique your interest on what we're up to with our campaign.
Well, and it's great to have a campaign like that because I think, I'm a former high school teacher for 30 years, and I think when people and young ones know that there is a solution and they are going through things, and to see a website like that or hear you or see you tabling somewhere really gives them hope and that there is something out there. And I think that's really important that we are talking about this.
I fully agree. And, it's even with our tabling experiences, it's a variety of different ways people can connect with, even sharing an affirmation. Sometimes it's just like, I receive, you are joy, you are happiness. And we want you to feel that way today. To the little poppets that we hand out to kids that love that for being able to, fidget with themselves if they need to like occupy their time. So it's the variety of ways that we're connecting that feels really meaningful. And no moment is ever the same, which I always appreciate.
So what kind of important information are you sharing with this campaign?
So we're sharing on resources, particularly a mix of not just Hennepin County specific resources, but sharing and reminding people there's a new 988 number. So that's at the federal level where there's a way people can call and connect with somebody if they're feeling like they might be experiencing signs of suicide or wanting an extra help that might be reaching them at a very urgent time in their crisis. We have information on a children's mental health directory. So that is a great way for parents and caregivers to be familiar with, what is available for them to be aware of supports for their children. And then we have anywhere between more like therapy-based services to a walk-in center in Minneapolis where people can walk in and get services met related. Adults can get their services met related to mental health and substance use needs. So it's a very big variety.
That's awesome. Hey, do you have time to hold on to another segment here? We got a lot of really great information here going out and how important that is. And it's kind of, our mental health has kind of been pushed aside during COVID because we've been dealing so much with COVID, but our mental health issues are still there, and it's really important to talk more about that. We're with Jocelyn, and she's the project manager of See Mental Health through Hennepin County Mental Health. And we'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
If the statistics say that 1 in 3 Native women and 1 in 6 Native men have experienced sexual assault in their lifetime, it means our whole community is affected by sexual violence. 1 is too many. Don't stand by, stand up. Don't engage in acts of sexual violence, and shut down the dirty jokes, the gossip, the victim blaming and shaming. As a community, we can change the way we respond. Contact the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition to attend a workshop to learn more.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Be a vaccinative. It's time to come together and talk about the urgent need to stay up to date on COVID-19 vaccinations to protect our heritage, our loved ones, and our future. Throughout history, we have always faced challenges, and today we must protect our culture and loved ones. This is our opportunity to ensure that our tribal gatherings once again resound with joy and celebration, where the echoes of our ancestors guide our steps. It's a chance to care for our elders, cherishing their wisdom and stories for generations to come. COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective. Let us unite, resilient as ever, and show the world the strength of the Native American community. Together, we shape a future where our traditions thrive, our children learn from our ancestors, and our people flourish once more. So be a vaccinative and learn more about staying up to date with your COVID vaccinations at health.state.mn.us. That's health.state.mn.us. This message is brought to you in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Health.
Attention parents and caregivers, Next Chapter Booksellers is thrilled to introduce First Chapter Storytime. Join schoolteacher turned bookseller Adriana every Saturday from 10:30 to 11. She'll read a favorite picture book from Next Chapter's ever-growing children's selection, perfect for kids 4 to 7. There will also be fun activities planned right after the reading, so let's foster a love of reading in our little ones with First Chapter Storytime, Saturdays from 10:30 to 11 at Next Chapter Booksellers. Find upcoming Storytime books at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, we're here with Jocelyn, and we're talking about mental health, and the cmentalhealth.org is a campaign, and we're talking about her campaign, and as the project manager of the Hennepin County Health Awareness Campaign. And we're really, that first segment went really quick, and there's a lot of information. And I always want to, Jocelyn, just to, as an interviewer, ask you what you want to talk about here, and go from there, and then I will jump in, because I think it's important that you get your message out that you want to, especially with this very serious epidemic that we're dealing with here across Turtle Island.
Yeah. So I'll just reiterate the fact that our website, cmentalhealth.org, is a significant way we're trying to share and get resources more known to the community. And also, we've been connecting very strategically with culturally specific providers and really emphasizing the importance that providers that look like us, have the same language structures, the same history, the same understandings, especially of maybe racialized trauma and things that have existed that may be stigmas to getting help. They provide so much value to our work. And so they've been coming along this journey with us within the campaign. And it's just a beautiful thing, I think, when people find a way to connect with this sometimes tough subject, because it's not accessible in the terms that we understand it. I didn't learn about mental health till college. And so I think there's just avenues of kind of understanding how you've been taught to understand feelings, even basic, how do I feel today? Or am I in a situation where I'm feeling more anxious, and what can I do to cope with that? There's this hope that we want to have people come out of this campaign with not just an understanding that mental health matters, but that there's skills and ways that you can move forward effectively with ways that work for you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think a lot of times, and especially when we're young, and I was young, I didn't know what I was going through when I had bouts of maybe depression that was situational or just being sad about things, what the difference was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or if there is a difference.
Yeah. And sometimes I don't know what it was like for you, but sometimes you grew up in households where it's welcome to talk about your feelings, or maybe it's shunned, maybe it's shamed, maybe there's a resistance to that. And so a lot of our hope too is to empower families, communities to really receive each other in a way that allows people to be more open and connected to expressing their emotions in safe ways.
Yeah, that's a bingo. I think that's one of our societal things and generational thing. I feel like there was a lot of stuff pushed down in years past, and that was handed down that boys don't cry, so on and so forth. And I am a crier. We had to put down our one of our dogs, and I think I was sadder then than I was when my mother passed away. It was just, you don't know when those things catch up on you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I just heard this saying the other day. I can't remember who said it, but they were expressing that like tears are actually like unexpressed love. And often even with grief, like it comes out as far as when we talk about loss. If we get teary-eyed or if we get that feeling like tears are coming out, it's healthy, it's okay. It's just love being expressed, and it's better out than in, right? So
right, exactly. And I think that I've heard many ways too. The Native way is tears are very sacred, and they're washing away a lot of bad medicine too, and so there's other ways that we can think about that in a good way too that can help us move on. I just want to throw this out there again: www.seementalhealth.org, and just jump on that website and get some tools, be familiar with it, and help your relatives too that may be going through something, and direct them to that site. Jocelyn, these are very important things to talk about, and sometimes we need to talk about it because you don't know when you need to bring up the toolbox of like your website, seementalhealth.org. You have to have that available and ready in the forefront of your mind, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're very thankful to, even just this week, we're going to be at Little Earth for in partnership with the Native American Community Clinic for a back to school event. And so these are the little ways that we are showing our support and having a way to connect and be part of even just the back to school experience that we know many families are facing in Minnesota right now, with the change both in the season, but also like transitions back to school and how stressful that can be too.
Well, and we talk about this too, Jocelyn. Not only is that stressful, but we had 30 days of bad air, and it seemed like the summer went by really fast because it did. I didn't go outside a lot because I'm old and I don't, it's hard for me to breathe when the air was that bad. And so there's that to deal with too, that, it's sad the way things are happening in the world, and it can bring you down if we're talking about that a lot. Or if you're talking and watching news, you have to smudge yourself off on these things. So things are a lot harder, I believe, now for young ones and everyone than it was when I was younger. And there's just a lot of reasons why I think that, and it's really important to have the Hennepin County Mental Health Awareness Campaign and talk about See Mental Health.
Absolutely. We fully recognize youth as a huge target audience within this campaign, and recognizing how much of their childhoods, their growing up, was impacted by this isolation that we experienced as a whole entire globe. And just the importance of, empathizing with both parents, but also youth and what they lost and what they haven't had the chance to be able to see, that they're still rebuilding and retooling themselves to find their forward.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, producer Haley's always on. And Haley, I'm wondering if you have any questions or comments too.
Well, you mentioned NAC. You're going to be there in support of NAC, with the Little Earth Reservation. And yeah, I just want to say Dr. Stately and NAC are really great. And I think it was Dr. Stately, too, who was talking once on our show as well about just how hard it is maybe to accept your feelings of sadness, or you're shamed about it, and how healthy it is to cry, and how healthy it is for you to let that out and not keep that in, and to talk about it and talk about your pain and talk about your experiences, because again, tears are water, and water is life, and we're made up of so much water in our bodies that yes, it is very sacred, and to be seen as with tears is to be seen, I think, as someone who's a strong person.
Yeah. Change that narrative, and that's a good
Absolutely.
thing. And we aren't changing; we're relearning it a lot of ways because of our colonized thinking of being sad and crying is not a good thing. And when you push that down, it comes out in different ways. Right, Jocelyn?
Fully agree. It's so powerful just to find spaces where you can be vulnerable and fully unpack maybe the load that's been weighing you down. And whether it's this campaign or, other an elder in the community or just someone or something that truly helps someone turn around. The goal is just to be able to help people feel more aware of what helps make them connected and give them hope within the work.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you being on, and Jocelyn, you are the project manager of a health awareness campaign, and we want you all to go to cmentalhealth.org. Thank you so much for stopping in and speaking your truth and helping our community.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Right on. Hey, wow, Haley, I almost called you Whaley. How did
Whaley.
Where the heck?
I'm your niece. You should know my name.
Chujunk is your name.
Yes. Jocelyn was great.
Yeah, very powerful, and we need to talk about these things. Again, cmentalhealth.org. Check it out. A lot of good stuff out there on that website, and let's all heal together, shall we? I think it's very important. We'll be right back. We're going to have Lori jump on, and we're going to talk a little bit about StrongHearts Native Helpline. This is a good show today here on some mental health and how to get help. We'll be right back after this short break. You're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Stay with us.
Attention art enthusiasts, experience Laura Youngbird's Indie Wisigindam, My Heart Hurts, a solo exhibition by Laura Youngbird presented by All My Relations Arts this summer. All My Relations Arts aims to foster connections between contemporary American Indian artists, preceding generations, diverse audiences, and the vitality of the American Indian cultural corridor. Laura Youngbird is a talented artist from the Minnesota Chippewa Grand Portage Band that uses the dress as a metaphor to address social issues, injustices, and biases. Through mixed media combining drawing, painting, and prints, Laura explores the dress as a powerful symbol in her work, revealing layers of meaning. Her series examines mixed emotions and themes like common threads, loose ends, and vulnerability. And you can see Laura Youngbird's Indie Wisigindam, My Heart Hurts, all summer through September 9th at All My Relations Arts in Minneapolis. Plan your visit and let the moving art speak to your heart. More information at allmyrelationsarts.org.
You work hard for every cent you make. You have bills and you have goals. Choose a bank that's going to support you along the way.
That's Fair Financial Banking. No overdraft fees, no minimum balance. No credit score required. Call 651-262-2173 to talk to a Fair Financial enroller to open your account today. Keep more of your money. That's fair. Fairfinancial.org. FAIR is a program of Prepare Plus Prosper, a nonprofit organization, and is not a bank. Banking services are provided by Sunrise Banks N.A., member FDIC.
As we emerge from the shadows of the pandemic, let us celebrate our resilience and embrace the path to a brighter future. While the COVID-19 emergency declaration may be over, our commitment to safety remains stronger than ever. We invite you to stand tall and protect what matters most, our health and the well-being of our loved ones and elders. The power to keep our community safe lies within each one of us. It's important to remember the basics when you're with someone who might be at risk of COVID complications. Wear your mask, wash your hands often, and take an at-home COVID test if you have any symptoms. We are a strong and interconnected community, and together we'll emerge from this challenge stronger than ever. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep the spirit of our Native American culture thriving. Find more tips on continuing to be safe at health.state.mn.us. That's health.state.mn.us.
This message is brought to you in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Health.
Hey, it's Tom. Since 2009, All Energy Solar has been providing solar energy solutions to customers. With fully licensed electricians and installers, you can be sure that your solar installation will go smoothly. The team at All Energy Solar understands that every customer is unique. They'll take the time to survey and understand your property to find a solar solution that works for you. One of the biggest advantages of going solar is the opportunity to take advantage of the many solar incentives available. But it can often be confusing to know what you're qualified for. All Energy Solar professionals will help you find out what savings you can apply for and even help with your applications. This is especially important since many rebate programs have limited capacity and are first come, first serve. So it's important to have a professional on your side who will make sure you get every eligible rebate. Get a free no-obligation assessment from All Energy Solar's commercial solar specialists by calling 800-620-3370 or visit allenergysolar.com.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Clear tonight with a low of 63, then Wednesday, warm sunshine with a high of 88. The locally owned Vinaigrette has been offering the finest olive oils and vinegars since 2009. That's Vinaigrette, Xerxes Avenue and 50th Street in Minneapolis, or at vinaigrettemn.com.
This is Leonard Peltier. I am in Coleman 1 U.S. Penitentiary, and I'm listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Clinic on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition.
I think we missed the beginning of that, but I also want to remind everyone today's secret word is racketeering. That's racketeering. Just wanted to bring that up. Do you want to read that out again, Haley? I think we missed that.
I will, for sure. I was hearing myself in my headphones, so I was a little confused. This portion of this show is supported by the Native American Community Clinic on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition.
Yes, they do. Hey, we are talking with Lori Jump, CEO of StrongHearts Native Helpline, which is a national domestic and sexual violence helpline headquartered here in Minneapolis. And I know it's all over Turtle Island, and the numbers 1-844-7-NATIVE, and you can do an online chat at www.strongheartshelpline.org. But Lori, thank you so much for being on. Long time no see, and it's great to have you on and talk about the great work you do, but also reaching out to our listeners if they need this. And, we know that there's a lot of hurt in our community, and we do need this. So, again, thanks for coming on. And you're muted, Lori. Here, I have a cup here that no one can see on radio, but it says you are on mute. There it is, and you still are. There's a little microphone right there, and you just click it. And
there, how's that?
Perfect. Perfect. Welcome, and thank you so much for coming on and talking about this important organization that you lead.
Yeah, since I've been on your show, and so it's always good to come on and reach out to our relatives that are in your audience.
Right on. And, what's really cool about being on the radio is not only do we hear, but then people that do hear, from great guests like yourself, become experts and that can help other people. So it's the definite telephone conversation that we really love having here, and especially with something as heavy as what StrongHearts Native Helpline has to deal with and the people calling.
It's such an important topic. Domestic and sexual violence are both issues that impact our relatives all across this country. Our rates are very high, so the services that we offer at StrongHearts can really be life-saving for our relatives. It's a critical service that we have here.
Yeah, I have been looking over types of abuse, and we forget about, there's, of course, emotional abuse, which is really subtle, but there's a new thing called digital abuse that I guess really isn't that new, but it is really, really a thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think that many people experience this, and as you said, it's not necessarily new, but I think calling it digital abuse is something that people don't necessarily identify with right away. But so many people experience it. I think especially people from the younger crowd, a little bit younger than myself, that really are tuned into their electronics, whether it's their computer, their laptop, their cell phone, all of those things that have passwords that can be compromised, or, people can hack into your accounts. And, we certainly see a lot of that with abusive relationships.
Exactly. Hey, we should talk a little bit about the history, because, you're coming up on 7 years and that's how long Native Roots Radio has been on. So do you mind talking a little bit about the history of StrongHearts?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. I'm so proud of the work that our organization is doing and the staff that we have. They're so dedicated to this cause. As you said, we celebrated our 6th anniversary, so we're in our 7th year of providing services. And we just have grown so much over this past, 6.5 years. We went from a staff of 5 to a staff of 45. All of our staff were located in the Minneapolis area. Of course, with the pandemic, we've changed everything along with the rest of the country. So we now have staff in 15 different states that are working, primarily from their homes. We went from operational hours of 9 to 5 each day. We're now 24/7. So every single day there's always somebody there that can be reached for support and information. Of course, we added texting and also chat during the pandemic. We know that it became much harder to call. And so we wanted to have those, electronic means of reaching our advocates as well. 28 advocates in our company. 100% are Native Americans, so they have lived experience that is critical when we're talking about connecting with, our relatives in Indian country. So we've just have grown so much, and in the past 6.5 years, we've reached over 40,000 people. So, quite the expansion.
Yeah, what a great idea, and it's interesting that it hasn't come up before, because this is so important for people. And one of the things I also want to remind our listeners too, this is not just a female situation that needs helpline. This is open to males, to our Two-Spirit community, and people that really feel like they're in a bad situation. And I got to just say, if you feel like you're in a bad situation, you probably are.
Yeah, absolutely. Historically, over the past 6 years, we've seen that about 15% of our calls have consistently been from males. And so, we do recognize, we understand that this is something that impacts everybody. It doesn't matter how you identify, your gender. It doesn't matter how you identify your sexual orientation. This can certainly cross all of those boundaries. And, our staff are well trained to be able to talk with everybody, across all of those different populations.
And I think we should give out the number too, because you never know. Somebody's listening right now may need the number. So it's 1-844-7-NATIVE, or online chat through the website www.strongheartshelpline.org. And I'll bring that up a couple more times before the end of the show. But it's so important to have a place like this to be able to call and get help.
Yeah, so many of our relatives that call in are just really looking for extra support. Many times they don't identify really as survivors or victims of domestic or sexual violence. But once we talk with them and we provide some education around what they're experiencing, they realize that in fact that they are. Probably the most the most common type of victimization has been emotional abuse. Mm-hmm. So many of our, people that contact us have experienced that. And so they tend not to think of it as domestic violence. They think of it, if they haven't been physically abused, mm-hmm. It doesn't really count. And so, yeah, we want to assure people that, that emotional abuse is something that really strikes at the core of who you are sometimes and mm-hmm. can be very difficult to deal with on your own.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of times you don't know that you're going through it because the person that's the perpetrator is possibly a master in this. And I've seen so many people over the years that have been kind of tied up in this web of emotional abuse. And yeah, it's deep. It's not a wound. It's a deep wound that really you need to talk about. And we have other sexual abuse too. Is a thing that it's hard to talk about, but it needs to be talked about.
Yeah, I think the only way that, we're going to improve the statistics in our communities is really to have these hard conversations. We know it's so hard to reach out, and sometimes that's, the best thing about calling a helpline is that it is anonymous and confidential, mm-hmm. and that can make it easier to have that first conversation. And of course, we always want to, refer somebody back to ongoing services in their home communities. But that first reach out for help is critical, and having it being anonymous can be really helpful. As you said, these are difficult conversations, and it's hard in our small communities. Sometimes they're so small and tight knit that maybe the person you have to reach out to might be a relative.
Right.
Whether it's of yours or your partner. Sometimes our communities are so small that, that makes it harder. That can make it a whole lot harder to reach out if you know the person that you have to tell about these difficult things that you're experiencing.
Absolutely. And one of the things, when we talk about cultural abuse, is that our lateral oppression and lateral violence? Is that what we're talking about when we talk about cultural abuse?
Well, it can be, especially if it's a non-intimate partner. I think it would be more of that lateral oppression. But mm-hmm. for this, in terms of an intimate relationship, cultural abuse is really using who you are. Our culture is so important to us. It's central to our whole being, and mm-hmm. Using that against you. So, often we hear about people who are not allowed to practice their traditions. They're not allowed to practice their ceremonies. And that's how we heal. And so there's that piece of it. There's the piece where they force you to practice maybe traditions and ceremonies that are not your own, which mm-hmm. can be difficult for somebody. we hear a lot about blood quantum, right? Oh, you're not Native. What are you, 10%? That kind of stuff. And on the opposite side of that, we also hear of it, well, you're too Native. It's all you think about is your tribe and your Native, blah, 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 right? It's using all of those things against you, things that are so important in your life, and either blocking your access to them or, again, forcing you to participate in ceremonies that are not your own.
Hey, we're here with Lori Jump, CEO of StrongHearts Native Helpline. And StrongHearts Native Helpline is a culturally appropriate domestic and sexual abuse helpline for Native Americans and Alaskan Natives. And again, that number is 762-8483. That's 1-844-762-8483. And we'll be right back. This is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl. J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Affordable, healthy, and culturally appropriate food is accessible right in the heart of the American Indian Cultural Corridor at Four Sisters Farmers Market. They embrace inclusivity and accessibility at Four Sisters, accepting SNAP and EBT benefits, market bucks, Gus Produce market bucks, cash, and cards. So enjoy the abundance of fresh food regardless of your payment method at Four Sisters Farmers Market. Open Thursdays until October from 11 to 3 at 1414 East Franklin Avenue. More at nacd.org and tell them Native Roots Radio sent you.
Hi, I'm Rachel Shamblat. My dad is Dr. Scott Shamblat from Shamblat Family Dentistry. A lot of people are afraid of the dentist, but you don't have to be. My dad makes going to the dentist comfortable and even fun. He won't be mad if you haven't seen a dentist in a long time. He just wants to take care of you and your teeth. If you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
Shamblat Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblatfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Good one. Hey, we're here with Lori Jump, CEO of StrongHearts Native Helpline, which is a national domestic and sexual violence helpline here headquartered in Minneapolis. And thanks again for coming on. It's good to see you. It's been a while, and it's good to see that your program's growing, but it's also known that it's still out there and we still need to help people. I want to ask you a couple quick questions and then pop out the number again a couple more times. But what do you think? What does StrongHearts provide Native victims with the most? You know, when you call, what are they getting provided with?
Well, the thing that we provide the most of, the biggest service that we provide really is that emotional support. It's peer-to-peer. Somebody that understands what you're going through. It's somebody that, certainly understands what it's like to be Native and understands the barriers that we face in our communities. following that, probably the educational piece, that information and education to help people really understand what they're experiencing. Safety planning is a critical piece of what we do. It's the first question we ask when somebody contacts us is, are you safe to chat? Are you safe to talk right now? We want to make sure that we're protecting their safety and then giving them ideas on how they can stay safe in for that day. Maybe sometimes it's just for that moment in time, but also what steps they can take to, ensure their own safety. And so those are the biggest things that we provide. Certainly referral when somebody's looking for a service that, maybe transportation or shelter, legal services, all of these kinds of things that, people need when they're experiencing this violence. What we've done is we have a Native-centered database of programs that are either operated by tribes or in affiliation with them. And so, we get them back to somebody in their community that can provide all of those extra services that they might need.
The National Institute of Justice Statistics say that more than 4 in 5 American Indian and Alaskan Native women have experienced violence in their lifetime. So if you're at a powwow and looking at the dancers and you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 out of the 5 have experienced violence in their lifetime. That's a staggering statistic.
It really is. And I think that even worse than that statistic, I think that 100% of us have been impacted by this in some way, whether we personally have experienced it or we know somebody that has. It is such the rates of violence are so high that everybody knows somebody, right, that has been in this situation. And so it's huge. It's
right.
It's bad.
Well, and there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that's that once we find out and get help, we can break this cycle, and especially this intertribal cycle of 4 out of 5 natives. And then we all, from the same institute, more than 56% have experienced sexual violence. That is another staggering statistic.
Yeah, the sexual violence is very high as well. And when we look at the sexual violence, 97% of that violence has been committed by a non-native perpetrator. And that's an important statistic because we know that jurisdiction is, it's a maze. Honestly, it can be very confusing to know who has jurisdiction if you're victimized on tribal land. It matters where you're at. That will determine who actually has the authority to prosecute these cases. And so those are they're difficult statistics to read and to think about. But, I do think that we're making progress. I do think that, finally having a national helpline so that no matter where you are, no matter what time of day it is, no matter, what time zone you're in or what state, there is some place that you can reach out for help. And just that support is so important.
Yeah. I want to give that number out again. And read it a little better. 1-844-762-8483. That's 1-844-7-NATIVE. And also the chat online is www.strongheartshelpline.org. That's StrongHearts with an S, helpline.org. Open hours of operation 24 hours out of 7 days a week. And that's really been something that's changed over the years, too, like you said earlier.
Yeah, we started out with very limited hours. It was Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And, the reality is that that's not when violence happens, and so becoming a 24/7 operation was something that was, our biggest goal, honestly, was, we knew that there were people that were needing help and couldn't reach us. In fact, we have a really interesting statistic, and I think it just goes to show how important culturally appropriate and Native-centered services are. Of all the people that contacted when we were closed and were given the option to transfer to the National Domestic Violence Hotline by pressing 1, less than 10% people chose to do that.
Oh.
They chose to wait until we were, had advocates back on the line. And I think that just speaks to the importance of being a culturally specific helpline for our people.
Right. And we only got a couple minutes left here, Lori. I'm wondering if you can tell us how our relatives can reach Strong Hearts. And then I really kind of want you to have some closing remarks and what you'd like to share with our listeners.
Yeah, so again, our number, call or text us at 1-844-7-NATIVE. You can reach us for chatting at strongheartshelpline.org. We're here 24/7. And, just in closing, I want our relatives to know that they're not alone, that help is available, right? We are safe, confidential, and anonymous. We know that that's so important for that first, reaching out for help is to know that, we don't know who you are. We don't know who your relatives are. It's a safe space for conversation. We are on all the social media, well, probably not all of it, but we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at StrongHeartsDV. Follow us. I think that, by liking our posts and sharing them, you're helping get that word out to, people throughout the country. So you can visit our website, has a lot of great information. Feel free to go there and kind of browse through that. Yeah.
Well, I want to just say a big Peeny thank you for coming on. And it's so great to see your organization expand and reach out to our relatives all over Turtle Island. Again, thank you so much, Lori Jump, CEO of Strong Hearts. Thank you so much for being on. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for helping us spread the word. We appreciate you and the work that you do in our communities.
Wow, Peeny Gigi. Hey, if you're listening to this show, we're still here. We are the 7th generation.
Free Leonard Peltier. Now.
See you tomorrow.